exploded into conflict. No nation wanted to start World War I, but none could stop the torrential rain of violence that would come. No one nation, not even the United States, were prepared for the problems that would result of it. The U.S. dealt with the Red Scare, an exponential increase in nativism, inflation, labor strikes, and a reintroduction to a policy of isolationism. The Red Scare refers to a promotion of fear in relation to the rise of communism. The first Red Scare began following the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. The intense leftist and anarchist views exacerbated the xenophobic American public and caused a massive amount of fear towards European immigrants. The Red Scare and the rise of nativism are closely interlinked. After the Wall Street bombing in 1920 by European anarchist immigrants, police began to violently and aggressively investigate any who were immigrants, and racial profiling was rampant. A few states responded by passing criminal syndicism laws that outlawed advocating violence by police officers to garner social change, but they weren't effective. The man who really led the anti-Red Crusade was Mitchell Palmer. He was a former general who on January 13, 1920, launched a series of raids in which 3,000 were arrested and many others were held for varying lengths of time. It occurred again in November, with many raids occurring without any warrants. Now to Caleb for information on labor strikes. Caleb?
Thanks, Kaylee. There were three major topics dealing with labor strikes: the Boston police strike, the steel strike of 1919, and the coal strike of 1919. The first being the Boston police strike. The American Federation of Labor, AFL, began granting charters in the beginning of 1919, starting in the month of January, to police unions, and for 5 months it lasted. The labor unions supported 32 different police departments in Boston, which caused a strike for 2 days. The amount of lawlessness that happened in the city of Boston resulted in about $35,000 of property damage. The police strikes ended in the end of 1919 by the election of 1920 due to the AFL withdrawal from the unions. Another one of the labor strikes that happened during this time was known as the coal strike of 1919. And basically what it entailed was United Mine Workers, led by John L. Lewis, had a problem with the Department of Labor, which was obviously a section of the government. And they, wanted less time and more pay. So what happened was 400,000 coal miners went on strike on October 31st. This strike lasted for 3 weeks and ended up being finished off by an act that the Secretary of Labor, William B. Wilson, enacted on December 10th. The last labor strike that occurred during this time is known as the steel strike of 1919. It, through the leadership of the American Federation of Labor, they wanted a strike, and they voted for a strike, and 98% of their union members voted yes. So in September 22nd, 1919, the steel industry shut down, including in Colorado, Chicago, Jamestown, Pennsylvania, Cleveland, Ohio, and Youngstown, Ohio. The owners quickly turned public opinion against the AFL, and they wanted to get workers back in. And so as the strike continued for almost a month, on October 6, 1919, the U.S. Army came into Gary, Indiana, and it declared martial law on the workers, and that required the workers to go back to work. And so the strike collapsed after many months of arguments and situations on January 8th, 1920.